Welcome to the Eurostove's informational videos. In this video we're going to be looking at the Wolf burner and the Bluestar burner. First of all, we'll look at the Wolf burner. As you can see, we have two circles, basically one outside and one in the center. The outside one has got to be producing, I would suggest, maybe 90% of the heat. The center one, probably around about 5–10% at best. What you tend to find with this is all the heat is being thrown to the side of the pan. It has three settings. This is high, medium, low, and you can see when you go low the outer ring is extinguished, and then simmer. So this goes down to a real small simmer. My only issue with this simmer is that is so tiny, I don't know if it's any use. I don't know what size of pan you would put on that simmer and be able to use it, because it is so small. It is literally tiny. So if you're talking about a simmer, you're talking about movement of liquid. But liquid has to move on the surface in order for it to be a simmer. Unless you're using a 2-inch jug, that's never going to move anything. So you're really going to have to come a little bit wider, even to the point of the outside being lit any second now. And then what you have then is way too much heat, so you're way over a simmer. So what I think I'm saying here is, on a high flame, all the heat is being pushed to the outside, barring 10% possibly. On the medium flame, you're getting good distribution of heat. On the low flame, again, you've got to be going to a real small pan in order for that to be effective in any way at all at keeping things warm. And the simmer, for my money, in my personal opinion, on any simmer on this type of size is pretty much useless. There isn't enough coverage over the base of the pan. What we find with the Wolf burner is the flame measures tip to tip 5.5 inches. And when you're measuring 5.5 inches, unless you're using a pan that's at least 6, 7 or 8 inches, the vast majority of the heat is going to miss the pan. So if you put this one on, this is a 5-inch pan, that's kind of centered in the center of the pan. You can see just from that angle, not particularly well, but you can see that the flame is missing the vast majority of the pan. So in order to combat that, there are two things. You turn it down so the flame isn't forced out as much, thereby the flame comes out and it just rises and just manages even there to just catch the side of the pan. Or alternatively, you use really good pans that will contract the heat back to the center. And what we found when we opened the cooking school was we opened the cooking school with sets of all-clad pans. Now the all-clad pans, because they've got quite a thin base, we found, or the chefs found, that the food would burn on the inside ring of the pan. So just in there, just around that area there, the food would burn and this would be still creamy. So what we did, we changed to a pan called Fizzler. Now Fizzler has got a much thicker base on it that contracts the heat a lot better and more evenly than the all-clad does. Because even when you do have the all-clad with the copper core and it transmits the heat, which is fine, the vast majority of the heat is still on the outside of the pan, and it's so close to the contact area that it does burn. So if you're looking for a really good pan, then the Fizzler is probably the best we've ever come across in the cooking school. So really that's what you've got to do. You've either got to turn the heat down or get a pan with a really thick base which will help you to transmit the heat back to the center of the pan. We're going to have a look at the Bluestar. Now this is the Bluestar burner. As you can see, it's more star-shaped and the flame is more evenly spread across the base of the pan. What you tend to find with this one is it's got more power, but the biggest advantage to this flame is the flame direction. It's directing the flame to the center of the pan, thereby giving you more even heat distribution and using up all the energy. So again, when we go to our small pan, when you put the pan onto the centre of the burner, you're getting a lot more heat into the base of that pan because the angle of the flame is directing it to the centre of the pan. None of the flame really is missing the burner. If you want to simmer, it does go down in pretty much relative increments until you get to where you want to do your simmer. So this is the Bluestar 22,000 BTU on its lowest setting. As you can see, all the little dots are pretty much individual dots. If you've got individual dots, you're as low as this can go. You also notice that if you've got a larger pan with some soup in it, or some stock or something of that nature, you can simmer much better on this because you have, again, more even coverage over the base of the pan. And that's really what you want to try to achieve all the time, even heat distribution. That's the 15,000 BTU burner on full. So when I put the pan on there, you can see that the flame is going really to the centre of the pan. Very little of the flame is pushing to the outside. And if you do have some flame coming to the outside, even with this one, you can just tweak it down a little bit. And yet when you tweak it down to get rid of the lashing up the side, what you find is there is still flame going to the centre of the pan. So you're still getting much more even heat across the base of the pan and much more heat to the base of the pan than you do with a Wolf. There's the burner uncovered. There it is covered. So this is your 5-inch pan on a 15,000 BTU burner, no licking up the sides, but with all the heat going to the centre. Here you can see the simmer burner on the Bluestar. This is the simmer burner at its lowest setting. And I think you'll agree that even there, a simmer burner over a larger area under the base of a smaller pan will give you much more heat distribution than a dime shape such as the Wolf has on its lowest setting. To summarise, I think we've shown that the Wolf burner sends at least 90% of its heat to the outside of a pan. I think we also show in this video that the Bluestar sends 100% of the heat to the centre of the pan and then evenly spreads out, thereby giving you much better even heat distribution to the base of a pan. I think we also showed that the simmer burner on the Wolf, in my personal opinion, is almost useless. I think we also show, because of the heat distribution on all the Bluestar burners, dependent on the size of the pan and the amount of liquid or food that's in the pan, you can get a much better simmer over a greater area. I think in this video, I come to the conclusion myself that the open burner principle, the true open burner principle of the Bluestar, is significantly better than the Wolf. As always, just my opinion, but I think seeing is believing.